Well, hello, and welcome to After the Show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, and I hope that you loved Ulla's episode. Her Faves app is super cool. She's doing some really cool things. I loved getting to know her more. And my big takeaway that we're going to talk about today is Ulla said, question your assumptions. And that is so powerful. So I wanted to go a little deeper in today's episode on that. And I also have a little exercise that we can do when you have certain kind of assumptions. The one we're going to use as an example in today's episode is the assumption that foot traffic is down because of this post-COVID hangover and because of the rise of e-commerce shoppers. As you're listening to today's episode, it would be great for you to think about an assumption you have and for you to kind of challenge that and question it and go through this exercise I'm going to take you through today. Before we dive in, this is being filmed and released in December 2024. And if you're listening to this in December 2024, we have the ultimate Evolve experience giveaway happening right now. You can enter to win a free VIP ticket to Evolve, a $500 flight credit, and 3-night stay at the Gaylord Rockies. To enter to win, go to rootedinretail.com/giveaway. There's a lot of different ways you can get points. The more points you have, the better chance you have at winning. And maybe that's a hint, hint. So be sure to register if you want to come to Evolve in Denver. I would love to see you. You can also learn more about Evolve if you want to see our speakers. We have over 15 speakers. This agenda is fire. You can go to crystalmediaco.com/evolve and learn all about the event, but enter to win. Okay, let's talk about questioning our assumptions. So, what happens when we have these assumptions is, a lot of different things can happen, but one of the things that I think a lot about is that it can stifle our creativity. When we just assume that things are a certain way, then we're not going to be thinking creatively. We're not going to be thinking differently. We're not going to be evolving, creating, innovating, adapting. We're just staying still because we have a certain assumption about something. And maybe that assumption was true a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 weeks ago, 10 years ago, depending on what assumptions we're hanging on to. It might have been true at one point. But if we don't question these assumptions and really understand where they're coming from and understand if they're true or not, we could get left behind. And this is where I have a conference called Evolve. The importance of evolving. We have to in retail and as small business owners. It's the name of the game. You're just not going to do business the way that you did 50 years ago and have no online presence and not integrate any kind of new, fresh experiences and new ideas, just always selling the same products you did back then. It's just not going to happen. So we have to evolve and we have to question our assumptions. Oh, one thing I want to add too is that I often say to my team, just because it's the way we've done it doesn't mean that's the way we should do it. So I want you to also question like the things that you're doing. So maybe they're not assumptions, but just like the systems that you have in place, how you're doing things, the technology that you're using. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we need to do. We can change, we can evolve, we can adapt, and you should. So it's very important, in my opinion, to create a culture of that evolution, of that questioning how we're doing things and looking for ways that we can do things better and really challenging those assumptions. So the exercise that you can go through that I did some research with ChatGPT, you know me and AI, my best friend here, we did some digging and some brainstorming here to give you a great exercise for questioning your assumptions. So there's 5 things to do, and I'll take you through a specific example. 1, ask why. Regularly challenge why you believe something to be true. This is so important that we take the time and stop and ask why. Why do I believe this? Where did this come from? Asking why 5 times. I taught this at Evolve this year, 2024. You ask why, you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And actually, if you do this with AI, it helps you really get to the root of something. So that 5 why, asking why, really great thing to do. 2, seek evidence, verify whether the assumption is based on facts or just a belief. I was just recently at a mastermind. One of my friends, she is a retailer, and she's been thinking that sales have just been sucking. So she logged in to get some evidence, to get the data, and she had her best month ever. In her 10+ year history of having her store, had her best month ever, but she thought she's been doing terrible. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, why do we do this to ourselves? Because I do it too. I'll get down on myself. And all of a sudden I'm like, well, is my feelings valid? Like, is this true? So I'll log in, I'll research, I'll look, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're actually fine. Or in this case of this retailer, she's crushing it. So seek evidence. Make sure that that is, in fact, based on facts. Then 3, consider alternatives. Think about other possible explanations or perspectives and have fun with this. Like, what's the complete opposite of your assumption? How could I make that assumption more fun, more enjoyable, totally different? Like, creatively brainstorm here and have some fun with these alternatives. Also, you can be very practical too, depending on what works best for you. 4, get feedback. Discuss your assumptions with others to gain different viewpoints. This is a beautiful thing to do with your team. Really get their perspective. You might even do this with customers, with vendors, with rep agents, like your reps that you work with. So get that feedback so you can kind of have an outside view, right? It's hard. I say this a lot. It's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame. So step outside, get that feedback. And finally, 5th, stay curious. Cultivate a mind of curiosity rather than certainty. I feel like one of my superpowers might be curiosity. I'm just a naturally incredibly curious person. I'm constantly questioning and want to know why and how and all the things. But there are certainly things in my life that I am like very certain about. And it's funny because Dustin, my husband, he works for the company and we'll have these brainstorming meetings and he'll come up with ideas. He is very much a curious, think outside the box, has this great marketing mind. And he'll say things sometimes that I immediately shut them down because based on my assumptions. And I'm very certain. And when I move, all of a sudden I find myself like shutting it down and I'm like, nope, get curious. So I'll sit there while he's talking and I'm like, could this work? How could that work? Even though that didn't work, could we do something different to make it work? Like, just get curious. Man, it's done wonders for me as well as for those conversations with Dustin brainstorming. So get curious. So let's go through an exercise of the assumption that foot traffic is slow because we had this epic couple of years from COVID. Now it's the post-COVID hangover. Sales are really down. Maybe they're further down from before COVID, or maybe you're even from before COVID. And you're feeling like that's happening with this post hangover as well as with the rise of e-com. So number 1, we're going to ask why. Why do you believe that foot traffic is down due to post-COVID changes and e-com growth? So you might even pause. You might be driving. I do this when I listen to podcasts. I'll pause and I'll think about it. I'll talk to myself out loud and I'll process some of this. You might journal on this as well. So it could be because of broader trends that are reported in the media. It could be feedback from your customers. It could be personal observations of just these fewer shoppers you're seeing. You may find you're relying on a general narrative or anecdotal evidence, which might not fully explain the issue, right? So just question why, ask why. Maybe you can resonate with some of those things that I just said. Then we're getting into kind of our investigator mode and we're seeking evidence. So what data supports this assumption? So you can look at your store traffic for the past 2 years. What is going on? In the case of the retailer I just talked to this week who thought, sales were down and actually she had her best month ever, get in there and really see, is foot traffic actually down? Like I can't tell you how many times I've heard things like this from retailers. And then when I actually start talking to them, they're like, well, actually, we did have a really great event. Actually, I think maybe we were up. So look at the metric, compare your data with local retail trends. Are other stores in your area experiencing the same drop, or is this unique to your business? We are an investigator. Let's figure this out. And the research industry reports on post-COVID retail behavior and e-com growth. Are they truly the main factors? Or are there other drivers like inflation, changing consumer priorities, things like that? Now, inflation very well could have been something if you saw the decline this year, especially in 2024, right? We definitely battled that. Many did. So, we're just seeking some actual real evidence here. Look and find that. Then 3, we are considering alternatives. So what other factors might explain the decline? Like what else is going on that maybe foot traffic is down? So has your store's location, like the area you're in or the neighborhood you're in, is there construction? Is there parking issues? Has the neighborhood been changing over the past couple of years? Like, is that more what's going on? It's an area thing? Or are your competitors driving your shoppers, like your customers, into their stores because maybe they have better promotions? They've got, really fun experiences, cool events, different pricing, maybe a strong online strategy. Where are these customers going? Are they being pulled to the competitor? Could your marketing strategies be updated? Is it a little dated? Are we not really focusing on the call to action to come in the store? Are we talking to them enough? Are we inviting them in? Do we have experiences, events, things that are happening that we could really drive them in and localized marketing campaigns? So we're considering these different alternatives to help support the issue, this assumption that we have. Then we're going to get some feedback. So, what do your customers and peers think? Let's ask them. Survey your customers about their shopping habits. Are they shopping more online or do they prioritize convenience and proximity? So have them send out a survey. You can have them enter to win a $50 gift card, $100 gift card, just to incentivize them to fill out the survey because you want this data. I would send it via email, post it on social, remind them, like maybe you send it via email a couple of times just to encourage people, hey, last chance to enter this 5-question survey. Maybe it's a 3-question survey, like name, email, and are you shopping more online? Like I would use ChatGPT to get a couple of really great questions, or, Poe or Claude, whatever AI tool you're using. I would say, I want to create a survey to get feedback from my customers about, because I'm questioning my assumption that my foot traffic is down because of the post-COVID hangover and the rise of e-com shopping. I want to know if that is, in fact, what's happening with my customers, or could there be another reason that they're not coming in and buying from me? What survey questions would you write to give me great questions so my customers give me the answers I'm looking for to question this assumption? I'd do something like that from a prompt perspective. Also, so we're surveying our customers, we're just getting that insight, and then we're talking to our neighborhood retailers, other businesses. Like I said, your reps, I would really be leveraging your reps. The good ones have good information for you. And then maybe even like chambers or different boards or Main Street associations, things like that you could just really have a conversation around what they're seeing and what their assumptions are and what kind of data do they have. And then finally, we're going to stay curious. So what if the assumption is only partially true or entirely false? What if I am not right at all and something else is actually happening here? If foot traffic hasn't recovered, could new strategies like in-store events, exclusive products, or partnerships re-engage my customers? Maybe it's not the fact that those things are happening. Like maybe that it's just the fact that I haven't been doing enough to really show up for my customers and provide opportunities for them to come in and shop with me. So I'm going to try those things. I'm going to be curious, will this work? And see if I can raise my foot traffic. Explore ways to leverage e-com rather than seeing it as a competitor. So for example, you could do click and collect, social shopping, or email marketing that's driving those in-store visits. So get creative on how you are leveraging omni-channel, social, e-com to still drive foot traffic in and still drive purchases. Maybe you decide that I want to be a part of the e-com game, so I'm going to play a little bit of a bigger game there to just really drive website traffic as well. We're staying curious. What's going to make sense for our store? Now, here's the deal. So you might have, by questioning this specific assumption, you could discover that foot traffic is down for reasons beyond this hangover and e-com competition. It could be changing local, markets that are happening, things that are happening from an operational perspective, different factors that are not those. So if we realize that they're actually these things, now we can address the real things going on. Maybe you've overestimated the impact of e-com, which I think that happens a lot actually for retailers. They think that they're losing a lot of business, and depending on your categories and type of retailer and location, like you very well could be losing business to e-com. I'm not saying that at all, but I think that sometimes we overestimate the actual impact. At a conference I was recently at, they were saying that there was a recent study that was saying that still 80% of consumers still, it was somewhere between 70 and 80% of consumers still wanted to come in. They were shopping in store. Majority of consumers are still shopping in store. So we might overestimate that power there. New opportunities could emerge, new ideas, the omni-channel strategies for you, things that can really help drive more local foot traffic. So that was my big takeaway from Ulla's episode. I think that she had phenomenal advice for us on questioning our assumptions. I really want you to take action on that. This becomes a change in behavior. This isn't I question one assumption and I am done. It is I'm having this assumption, I'm having this thought. Is it valid? Let's go through these 5 things. I hope that you found today's episode helpful, and I hope that you listened to Ulla. And especially if you're in, gift, home, fashion, I hope you check out her app. It's super cool. And you know that I am rooting for your success. Have a wonderful rest of your week ahead. And just a reminder, I'm going to be, for my gift and home peeps in January, I'm going to be at America's Mart in Atlanta, World Market Center in Vegas, and the Javits in New York City for New York Now. So I hope to see you at one of those markets. Let me know. Let's connect. All right. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Okay, I have exciting news to share. The Rooted in Retail Mastermind is launching this January. It's your chance to connect deeper with me, the retail pros from the show, and an incredible community of resilient retailers, both online and in person, with several meetups throughout the year. Get on the waitlist at rootedinretail.com/waitlist. And don't just listen to the show, be a part of the magic and grow your store with us. I hope to see you there.